This is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Institute for Dialectical Metarealism. In this episode, I will talk about Aljazeera. There used to be an Aljazeera America. It didn't have enough viewers, but there was still an Aljazeera English. Aljazeera was just kicked out of Israel by Bibi Netanyahu. Not surprising, but extremely disappointing. Al Jazeera was one of the few mainstream news outlets to have very fair coverage of what was taking place in West Asia. And it was willing to take the side of Hamas much more than, say, I don't know, CNN, Fox News, Sky News, whatever. Very disappointing. So it seems to me, although I can't prove this, that the main reason for Al Jazeera being kicked out has nothing to do with what the Israeli government is saying. It has to do with the fact that Al Jazeera would not bow to the wishes of the Israeli regime. That's what it comes down to, in my view. It's as simple as that. I don't think it requires any more explanation. So we have one less reliable source of on-the-ground information. In other words, most of the information we are getting that is fair is not coming from journalists who are in Israel or who are in Gaza, but from commentators in the West who are simply trying to piece together things from available information. But Al Jazeera was actually in Israel, and now it will no longer be in Israel. Obviously, Al Jazeera is protesting. Will those protests matter? Not to Israel. They never have. So let me go ahead and read for you all, or at least a portion of this article, so you can have an idea of what this is talking about. The headline is Israel to close Al Jazeera news network in the country. Dateline, Michael Schwartz, Tim Lister, and Lauren Saeed Morehouse. This is from CNN. Israel has ordered the closure of Al Jazeera in the country, a move the Qatar-based news network called a criminal act. Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, said in a post on X, Twitter, "The government headed by me unanimously decided the incitement channel Al Jazeera will be closed in Israel." End quote. Comment: incitement channel? Incitement channel. I guess that means telling the truth, reporting fairly, talking about the suffering of the Gazans. That's the incitement channel. I guess that's what Benjamin Netanyahu is afraid of. I guess what Likud and its partners in crime are afraid of. They are afraid of the truth. Now, that is not news in itself. We have long known that. But it is really disappointing to see that Al Jazeera is being kicked out of Israel by the Likud party and Bibi Netanyahu. Back to the article. Ophir Genzelman, the prime minister's spokesperson to the Arab world, said Sunday that the decision would be implemented immediately. Of course. In a post on X, Genzelman said that the network's broadcast equipment will be confiscated. The channel's correspondents will be prevented from broadcasting. The channel will be removed from cable and satellite television companies, and Al Jazeera's websites will be blocked on the internet. The Israeli Military of Communications said Sunday it had closed the networks Jerusalem offices and confiscated its communication equipment. Isn't that called theft? Isn't that called theft? Why confiscate something? Are they going to press charges against Al Jazeera? I mean, generally, you confiscate something to acquire evidence, to hand over to a prosecutor, to conduct an investigation, to press charges. Is that what the Zionist regime is planning on doing against Al Jazeera? I doubt it. They just want Al Jazeera out. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe they are going to press charges against Al Jazeera. I would like to see that. I would like to see that for myself and how that actually works out. I want to see Benjamin Netanyahu testify on the stand about what Al Jazeera did, and then see Al Jazeera testify about what it truly did. Will that happen? Of course not. Of course not. Very sad. Back to the article. Israeli cable providers carrying the Al Jazeera networks by late Sunday afternoon, CNN journalists in the country confirmed Al Jazeera's cable channel in Israel now displays a message stating, in accordance with the government's decision, Al Jazeera channel broadcasts were stopped in Israel. I wonder who put that message up there. Was it Al Jazeera? Or was it Israel? You know, I don't know, but I suspect it was Israel. Genzelman quoted Netanyahu as stating, Al Jazeera reporters harmed Israel's security. Poor thing. Obviously, that's my editorial comment. And incited against IDF soldiers. How dare they incite against murderers? It is time to expel the mouthpiece of Hamas from our country. So now the spokesperson for Netanyahu is calling Al Jazeera the spokesperson, the mouthpiece of Hamas? Huh? Again, I want evidence. Show me evidence. How are they the spokesperson for Hamas? I wish they were, but I don't think so. I mean, Hamas should have a right to broadcast its own channel. And that channel should be broadcast throughout Israel and throughout the world. Will that happen? Of course not. Of course that won't happen. Why? Because it is Israel, the state with a right to exist. Back to the article. Video obtained by CNN showed Israeli police accompanied by agents of the Israeli Security Agency entering Al Jazeera's broadcasting position in Jerusalem on Sunday. Al Jazeera said the Israeli cabinet's decision infringed on the human right to access information. It continued, Israel's suppression of the free press to cover up its crimes by killing and arresting journalists did not deter us from performing our duty. More than 140 Palestinian journalists have been martyred for the sake of the truth since the beginning of the war on Gaza. Ends of the quotation. Several of the network's journalists working in Gaza have been injured or killed since October 7th. Al Jazeera again denied Israel's false allegations regarding our violation of the professional frameworks governing our media work and called on media and human rights organizations to condemn the Israeli authorities' repeated attacks on the press and journalists. The move comes a month after Netanyahu vowed to shut down the television channel in the country following the passage of a sweeping law allowing the government to ban foreign networks perceived as posing a threat to national security. How tough you are, Israel. You're afraid of your own tail. You're afraid of your own tail. How dare you? How dare you kick the most reputable mainstream broadcast outlet out of your country? You are showing once again, your true colors. Netanyahu said on X, Twitter, in early April, that he intended to act immediately in accordance with the new law to stop the outlet's activity in the country. Netanyahu's government has long complained about Aljazeera's operations, alleging anti-Israeli bias. And what about the anti-Palestinian bias in much of the Israeli media? Plus, I don't think that Al Jazeera has shown any kind of anti-Israeli bias. Al Jazeera is simply giving space for Gazans and Hamas to present their own side, something which any news outlets should do, and something which here in the US, CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News Channel have not been doing. So Al Jazeera has taken up the slack, and now, at least in Israel, they will be stopped. The new law gave the Prime Minister and Communications Minister authority to order the temporary closure of foreign networks operating in Israel, powers and that rights groups say could have far-reaching implications on international media coverage of the war in Gaza. UN Secretary General spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric on Sunday condemned the decision to close Al Jazeera. As we have said before, we stand firmly against any decision to roll back freedom of the press. A free press provides an invaluable service to ensure that the public is informed and engaged. Ends of the quotation. The Foreign Press Association, the FPA, in Israel, described the move as a dark day for democracy. Well, there I have to take an exception. What makes the Foreign Press Association associate democracy with Israel? I guess bourgeois democracy. But look, I think even bourgeois democracy is getting a bad name by Israel. I know that may sound weird, but really, I mean, most bourgeois democracies at least try to present a facade of fairness, even if they are not actually being fair. Israel doesn't even present a facade. They don't care. They just shut things down on whim and go on about their business. Meanwhile, Human Rights Watch condemned the decision as an assault on freedom of the press, according to a written statement shared by Omar Shakir, Human Rights Watch's Israel and Palestine director. Rather than trying to silence reporting on its atrocities in Gaza, the Israeli government should stop committing them, Shakir said. The move comes as negotiators met in Cairo on Saturday in a bid to secure the ceasefire and hostage deal. Good luck with that. You know, I am not optimistic about that. I was a bit optimistic yesterday, a bit, but not now. Not after Israel shuts down Al Jazeera. That is a bad sign. To me, that tells me that Israel is planning on doing something that it does not want to be seen. And if there is any mainstream news outlet that will see it, it is Al Jazeera. And Israel does not want Al Jazeera around. Israel does not want anyone around that is not faithful to Israel. and will not kiss Bibi Netanyahu's shoes or feet or whatever. Back to the article. Negotiators have made progress on the technical aspects of a potential deal, but two Israeli sources say it could take a week to finalize the deal itself. Qatar has played a key role in ceasefire negotiations in the ongoing war. And that is the end of the article. I don't know what to make of that. It is disappointing. Yes, very disappointing. As I said, it is not surprising. The Zionist entity has done these things over and over again. The US, too, has committed such atrocities, locking up whistleblowers when it wanted to. So Israel is not necessarily different in the US in that regard. What seems to be different is not the policy of Israel, but its audaciousness, its audacity, its willingness to do things out in the open when it must know that everyone, at least everyone who is not a Zionist, can see exactly what it is that Israel is doing. But again, my impression is that the Zionist entity simply does not care. It never has cared, especially about the indigenous, the fourth world people of Palestine, the people to whose land Israel should belong. There should not be an Israel in Palestine. There should only be a Palestine from the river to the sea. For the time being, this has been Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Institute for Dialectical Metarealism. Have a pleasant day and an even better day tomorrow.